If you are here, please mute yourselves while you're here so that we don't hear your background noise. And if you have any questions or comments as Corey and Barb kind of go through this together, just write them in the chat box and I'll monitor the chat box throughout this.
Okay. Do you want me to get started?
Go for it.
All right. So I want to start, let me start by presenting my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. Okay. So just wait for that to load. Can everyone see my screen now? Okay. So I just wanted to start by showing the first menu that I used in my classroom. And fortunately, this was just a few weeks before the school shut down, and I had no way of knowing that, but it was convenient timing. So we did a unit on cells, and I used a menu for that. So each one of these is a different activity. So, and as a menu, I thought it'd be kind of fun to actually use meals, because I wanted them to go in a certain order. So I wanted them to have breakfast first. So they picked one of these activities, and this is just the basic understanding of cells, a brief overview of cells through these activities. Then they had to pick 2 lunch activities to practice those skills. Appetizers, they learned about microscopes. Soups and salads, that's when they got to use a microscope. And then the dinner entrees, these are kind of like final projects where they showcase their learning about cells and the different organelles. So they had that, and actually some of them hadn't finished that before school was closed. So then move on to the next piece. So this is kind of an overview of the extended school closure expectations. And when I wrote this, this was thinking that we'd only be out of school for 2 to 3 weeks. So keep that in mind. So the first thing was they need to finish their cell unit, including their final project. And then to be completed every week, I had this kind of checklist, and I have a more detailed menu I'll get to after this. So at least 15 minutes of Dreambox, which is math skills. And to preface this, I teach just math and science to 6th grade. And then complete at least 1 science enrichment activity per week, complete at least 4 math activities per week. And I'll show you what those look like on the next document as well. Complete at least 1 math enrichment activity, and so on. So that's kind of a checklist of what's to be done every week for math and science. How do they show their learning? So they can share it to me through Google Docs. They could take pictures. They can email me by 3 p.m. every Friday. And then if they need help, how to get in contact with me. So then this is the more detailed menu. And this was given to them before school closing, like the beginning of that, that Monday and Tuesday of that first week. So some of them I was able to talk to in person about these, which was kind of helpful. Other students, I just had to kind of send it to them. So again, this is from that science menu. So some students, like I said, hadn't finished that yet. And for them to submit those projects, they also had an option on how to submit them. Some students are doing a presentation in response to a Flipgrid I put up. Some students are just sharing them through Google Docs. I had one student that just did an audio recording along with a picture. So a lot of different ways they could kind of turn those in. For science enrichment activities, I actually took this from a document that the coaches shared with us at the beginning of the school closure. But these are activities that I thought were related to science that would be kind of fun. Some of them get them outside. Some of them include building something or drawing something. I had a student make a cool marble maze outside just with sticks and rocks, and she had a marble go down her sidewalk, which I thought was neat. I've seen quite a few castles. So I have to do one of those a week. Math activities, these are just like basically some resources. And then all of these actual math activities, these are all concepts we've already covered in 6th grade. So as we know, this first part of the school closure was just supposed to be review, no new learning. So I took some learning targets that we already covered, and I came up with 6 activities for each. So they need to complete at least 4 of these activities per week, picking something different each day and focusing on one topic per week. So let's say, oh, this week I want to work on ratios. Then they would pick 4 of these. So some are like more traditional worksheet type things. Some there's Khan Academy. Some are a little more creative, make your own activity. And then I have one that I thought would give them a connection to real life at the end of each topic. So there's ratios, positive and negative numbers, and you'll see there's similarities between each thing. So I want to be as consistent as possible. So there's geometry. So there's the 3rd topic. And then percent is the 4th topic. So again, very similar to what I had before. There's decimals. And that was the last of the 4 topics. So, the last of the overall topics. So I pick one topic per week with understanding they would complete 4 of those in any one week. And then for the 5th day, my idea was that they would do a math enrichment activities. So similar to the science enrichment activities, these are activities involving math, but a little more fun. So I had some students that showed me a video of them cooking for their family. I saw pictures of board games, jigsaw puzzles. And then in 6th grade, and when we're in school, we were doing 10 minutes of wellness every day where we just go outside, either walk around the soccer field, or some students would be throwing around a football or whatever. So I wanted to include wellness as well. So these are, drawing, creating, coloring, practicing mindfulness, learning a new craft. Could be anything along those lines. And then for this week, just because they, at this point, have finished their science projects, I found a link with lots of cool Easter or spring science and STEM activities. So for this week for science, they would just pick 2 of these activities, and then they would continue on picking the 4 activities for math from the previous menu I showed you. Okay, so that's an overview of what I created and what I've been doing. I don't know if anyone has questions about any of those, who wants to see one of those things again before I start presenting my screen.
Yep, you're welcome to unmute yourselves if you have a question. Or, Cindy said she didn't see the menus. I did. Did anyone else not see the menu?
I saw the menus.
Okay.
I saw the cafe form of the menu, but I was thinking initially it was going to be like a grid, like get 3 in a row kind of thing. Same idea. It's the same idea, but I wonder if that's what she means.
So Cindy, so this is, I don't know if you can still see my screen, but this is what I used as a menu. It's more of kind of like a checklist rather than like I've seen like the checkerboard ones or the tic-tac-toe boards. So this is just something I developed that I use as a menu.
Thank you. The first one, the cafe.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if you showed a different one or not. Sorry.
I think we will see some examples of the board ones too, right, Corey? Do we have some?
Yeah, so I have examples of many different formats. I was thinking that because we're going to spend 2 days on choice menus, I was going to let people within the SU, because I know we have a few people in here right now, share what they're doing so that we can see how it's being applied within the classroom or within classes right now. And that tomorrow we would take a deeper dive into the different formats and how to create our own.
Does anybody else have like a menu that they've created they want to share? We would love to see, because there's the basic thing is like there's no like one way, just like there's many ways to share your menus.
So I have Cindy's. Cindy, are you okay with me popping them up there and showing them? Do you want to talk about them while I show them?
I can.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm figuring out this whole mute and unmute thing. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm like a fourth grader.
All right. Let me pull them up.
Mine are going to be a lot different than Barb's because obviously I teach little kids. Littler than Barb's, I should say.
Do you care which one I pull up?
No.
Okay.
I have two menus I use. I have a reading menu and a math menu. And my math menu looks different when we're in school, and because I took the math menu class this past summer. But these menus are what I started the year before when I had just gone to a conference and just wanted to play around with it. And I figured this option was a good way for parents. It made it easier for parents. I don't know how to put them up, Corey, so.
Okay, can everybody see my screen with the math menu on it?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to, so hold on, I gotta get to that screen. Just so I can see what you guys see. So I have some must-dos and some can-dos. Every day while they're home, I'm changing one must-do, which is usually that bottom one on the left for their math work. And then all the others, the can-dos and the must-dos are practice of what we've already worked on in the classroom. And it gives them options. I tell them by the end of the week, all the must-dos have to be done and at least one or two of the can-dos have to be done. And sometimes I put in like links to different things depending on what I decide to put in for the week, if that makes sense.
Would it be helpful for me to also pull up a reading menu?
Some people are saying yes.
Okay.
So Barb, you will be very impressed. I even got the links in there and they work. You all don't know how technologically challenged I am, so this is big for me. So the same thing, I have 3 must-dos. I change that bottom left-hand must-do every day so that they have something new for reading or math to work on. And then the others, they have to do all 3 must-dos by the end of the week and at least 1 or 2 can-dos. And I have some, of course, that do them all and some that are struggling to even do a couple, but you know, I get it. I get it. So that's what my menus look like for now. And I'm up to any suggestions to make it better or easier for parents.
Does anybody have any questions for Cindy about her menus?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I read the continuing plan for new learning and all, and now I'm just wondering, like, I can put my head around all that for maintaining learning. like, what will that look like? How would that change for what's coming? Would you have instructional videos embedded in the squares? I'm like, I had to eat a whole plate of nachos before this because I was like stressed.
So, Courtney, would you be willing to share how you're going to tackle new learning with your choice menus? Before you do, just from Patty, Cindy, Patty says, pretty soon you'll have to say, you all have no idea how tech challenged I used to be.
Corey, do you have my week 3 menu?
I do. Let me go in and find it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let me just go in and share my screen again.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so I teach 4th grade, so kind of in the middle of those 2 age ranges. And what we've been working on is the last 2 weeks we did review. And then this week we're kind of doing a practice or a dry run of new content for when that comes down the pipe. So how I have it is I have it segmented right now by the different categories of what we're doing. So morning meeting, ELA, writing, and math. So each day they know if we have a morning meeting that they can log on to, or they know if we have like a question to answer for attendance on Google Classroom. And then for ELA, I did WeVideo lessons. So if you click on those links, it brings you to a WeVideo. It's like if you were to click on like Paul Bunyan, it brings them to a video of me reading the story of Paul Bunyan and talking to them about why I think that's traditional literature, because our skill that we're working on in reading this week is what is traditional literature. And then for writing, we're going to start an ELA project after break with some opinion writing. And so this week I'm having them look at some examples of different like persuasive stories, like a pig parade is a terrible idea. And then they're doing a flip grid on that. And then for math, we're starting geometry. So a lot of just kind of linking some YouTube videos about angles and lines, and then having them work on Dreambox because I aligned their Dreambox curriculum to that geometry scale so I can kind of track that. So that's like this week, what this week looks like. And then each day they have like a dojo challenge that they like a class dojo, which is like our online behavior system that we use. So they can take pictures of them doing that thing and I can give them points and put it on our class website so all the kids can see what everyone's up to. And then I made a flip grid that they can log on to and make videos if they need help, if they're stuck on something or they want me to help them with something. And then when we move into after break, I'm planning on expanding this to, they'll have their ELA workshop task and lessons and their math workshop tasks and lessons. And then underneath it, they'll have a can-do section that I've been working on with like 8 different choices for ELA and math. And they have to pick 2 other choices that they want to work on for that day. So that's kind of how I've been practicing new learning with them this week.
Can I pull up next week's learning?
So this is kind of like my design for the week we get back from break. Once it pulls up, there we go. So again, it has their morning meeting, their morning check-in. It tells them when that is. And then ELA, I'm only going to do 1 lesson, and it's just going to be like what their directions are for their animal project. And then for their animal project, they're going to be doing research on any animal that they want to keep as a pet. And I've made them like a graphic organizer that they can make a copy of and fill in their information that they find. And then for math workshop, I'm going to do 2 or 3 lessons on polygons on WeVideo, and then have them do some tasks with polygons. And then Corey, if you scroll, I have social studies 2 days a week, just like videos. And then if you scroll down, that's where their can do's are. So those are all the things that they can do. And if we have social studies on the menu, they only have to choose one can do, can do. And if they don't have social studies that day, they have to choose 2 can do's. And of course, they can do more if they want to, but I'm trying to make it as manageable for kids and parents without overwhelming anyone as possible. And I'm not grading. I'm not tracking anyone down for grades. I'm just kind of keeping track of like what kids log on to the menu. And as long as they're doing something and I know that they're interacting with the work, then that's all that matters to me at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what questions do people have for either Barb, Cindy, or Courtney? Or is there anybody else that is using math menus that wants to share?
I had a question for Courtney. Not specifically related to the menus, but I was just curious, what does the morning meeting versus your morning check-in, how do those 2 things look differently?
So morning meeting is I send out a Google Meets invitation 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we get on and we do a virtual meeting like this all together. And we do an activity, we do a share. On Friday, we do like a big task, like a scavenger hunt, or we're playing a game called Box of Lies this week. So that's like a more of like an interactive morning meeting. And then their check-in, we were told by Christy that we have to start tracking attendance after break. So I'm practicing that this week. So on the 2 days we don't have morning meeting, in Google Classroom, I leave them a morning message every morning. And on Tuesday and Thursday, there might be a question they have to answer. Like today it was, would you rather ride your bike or ride your scooter? And then they just comment bike or scooter. And I can check that as their attendance, that I've had some kind of contact with them for the day, that I know that they're okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a menu that Jenny had shared from Pulteney Elementary specials teachers. Are any at Pulteney Elementary specials teachers on here right now? If you are, speak up. If not,
I think you should definitely share it, Erica, because I think
it's pretty.
yeah, it's pretty, but I also think, especially for teachers who are departmentalized, that this might be a nice example.
All right, I'll share my screen right now. If you're a specials teacher from this school, feel free to jump in because this is your board. Okay, can you see what I see? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I thought this was really creative in a really, really cool, manageable way. You know, this is obviously elementary, but they kind of all got together and collaborated on this board. And they made a choice board for the month, which I thought was really awesome. And each content area has their own column, and then they kind of filled it in for their own column. So there is, it's like 5 rows. Oh, and they have a whole bunch of stuff down here. Oh, and then they have like a signature sign off. So kids can go through and it looks like they want them to choose one activity from a single column every day and mark it off. So I guess it kind of aligns with, they probably have these specials once a week, and kind of going with that they choose a special every day to focus on one, which I think is manageable. And then at the end of the month, it looks like their adult signs off and they have completed it.
And I think down at the bottom too, I think they give websites, maybe their own personal websites that they've created, or additional websites. So if students want additional work, they have that option too.
Yep.
So kind of like their must-dos and their can-dos.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was great. And so kind of gives that student choice and voice and flexibility to kind of be able to navigate their own learning, but within some parameters and structure. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I had a question. Since Karen and I, we share the same group of students, are there, or have you seen other schools or other teachers that share the same group of students, similar to what we just saw with the specials menu, where teachers have collaborated and made one menu for the same group of students?
So not within the SU, we haven't seen anything, but we have found some resources from other schools in other places where it looks like they're maybe taking the approach of one choice menu for all the classes. So I have one actually pulled up here. Let me share my screen again. Nope, I thought I had linked this, but I guess I had not. Nope, here we go. So this was a website I think Erica had come across for a high school and how they're approaching distance learning. And it appears that what they're doing is they're giving a choice board to their students that covers all the content areas. So they've got a column for math, they have a column for science, ELA, and so on. And they have to complete a minimum of 6 activities on the choice board. So this doesn't look like it includes necessarily everything that a high school student or a middle school student might have, but it's one way that they've approached that. And I don't know, Erica, did you come across anything else? I think that was the only thing.
I did, but I think this was the best example that I could find. I forget where this school actually is in what state. It is a public school. And I do know that in other states, they're only doing what they're calling enrichment until the end of the year. So that that it could be from a state like that, which maybe feels like it's not a whole lot of work for a high school student, but at the same time, I do like the simplicity of it, especially starting off. Everybody's trying to learn how to be online learners, and letting everyone get some time to learn how to be an online learner first, I think is important, and to focus on a lot of those digital citizenship skills on top of content learning. Which, Corey, you want to bring up those digital citizenship menus that you made?
Yeah.
We sent out in our newsletter, but I think it's really important that teachers see this as well. And then we're about out of time after that.
So we created a few digital citizenship choice menus to share out, and we kind of chunked them. When doing this, we thought about what would be most appropriate to teach students first on grade clusters, and we tried to do grade clusters rather than doing just kindergarten, just first, just second. This way, it seemed a little bit more manageable, and these were shared out in the email that was sent out on Monday. And what you can do is you can take these and copy these, make your own copies, and you can change these to work for you. So for the K through 5, we split it up into K2 and 3-5, and we decided to focus on privacy and security. Basically getting kids to understand that you don't share out your full name, you don't share out personal information. Whereas with our older students, we broke it into a 6-8 cluster and a 9-12 cluster. And we felt it was more important to teach them about cyberbullying, because there has been some inappropriate behavior going on with students outside of school through things like chat, things like that. So we felt that was more important to tackle first. So I had just made like a 3x3 grid and put the directions of to complete 4 activities, or I think all grade levels were complete 4 activities. My middle square was a must do, asking students to just reflect on their learning for everyone in 3rd grade and up. Whereas for the little guys, that might be a little bit more difficult. So I asked them to complete an activity together with their family. And then there are all sorts of activities in here for them to choose, whether it's like some of these have videos that kids can watch and then a worksheet to complete afterwards. There is typically a family activity for them to complete. The little guys, I threw in some coloring pages that focus on those topics. You know, the 3rd through 5, there's a video, and then I made a quiz on quizzes. There's some lesson slides and worksheets. So there's all different types of learning for students. And I know Karen had asked earlier about multiple intelligences and the ways that, you know, just making sure that we're reaching all of our learners. So I tried to include in my choice menus lots of different ways that students could access the information, whether it was videos or recording themselves or things like that. So that was just a super brief overview of those, but we'll make sure that we send them out again if you missed them the first time. Are there any more questions for today?
Yeah, we're a little over time. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming and sharing that shared, because this was great to see all the different types of menus you can have out there. And again, I will send out, this recording will be up on our YouTube channel. And
Erica, we're doing choice menus again tomorrow, correct?
Yeah. Oh yes, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yes. So for tomorrow, we're going to just dive into choice menus a little bit more, sort of the thinking behind them, why you might do them, take a look at some different formats, and getting into multiple intelligences and how to target all different sorts of learners with different activities.
Thank you. Yeah, so please join tomorrow if you want to plan. All right, thank you everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.